leverage to learn. Because once an accident has taken place, a lot of evidence gets destroyed. But in a near miss, everything is there for you to see, to analyze, to scientifically evaluate as to what went wrong, why we reached this stage that it came down to a probable major accident. So near misses must be, that encouragement must be there, that near misses must be reported and they should be taken as seriously as accident. And again, uh, uh, maybe separate forums may be created only to discuss near misses and what lessons could be drawn from that. Because a near miss for someone would be an accident for someone else. We may have saved our one particular part of the industry, but maybe the same thing is happening to everyone. So these three issues I'm really concerned about. That these three, if they are properly and driven home properly, will ensure that the culture of preparedness, culture of safety, the commitment of everyone, that I must do whatever is within my means to ensure that there is no accident and there is no cause to for an accident to happen. I think we will be able to ensure a zero incidents type of culture. India, as it is, has got a very good rate. The rate is less than 0.1% today. But the number of industries that we have, lakhs of them, that the number of accidents that take place is very, very less. And life-threatening accidents are even lesser. Yes, the recent past we have had a few of them, but if you see the overall numbers that we have, compared to that, it is very less. So there is a good culture of safety already prevailing in the industry, in which Vicky is playing a very important part in sensitizing people time and again. And this is also part of it. So I'm keen to listen to the keynote address and also to the two gentlemen. Over to you, Dr. Virat.
Thank you so much, General Bindal. Now I will quickly request General Bhardwaj. Thank you so much, General Bhardwaj, for joining. I know there was some technical glitch. Finally, it's good to see you, sir. For your opening comments, sir, before that, I would just like to give a brief introduction. General Bhardwaj is the former member of National Disaster Management Authority, and he was formerly the honorary surgeon to the President of India. Accorded status of Minister of State in NDMA. Prior to appointment, he was also he served as the Director General Armed Forces Medical Science Services in the rank of Lieutenant General in the Indian Armed Forces. With that, sir, may I now request General Bhardwaj for his opening remarks as well.
Gentlemen, good afternoon, and I'm sorry I joined a little late. Anyway, but General Bindal has already done the opening ceremony, and the other VIPs, dignitaries will follow suit. I have to say this because when we prepared the national guidelines, we kept zero tolerance as our motto. But I know that it is very difficult to achieve that goal, that target, unless we work, all the stakeholders work in a harmonious manner and upgrade our day-to-day SOPs, creating the high standards of safety and focusing on the prevention of even the smallest disaster. The honesty must come in reporting even a smallest start of a smallest accident that occurs in the industry. I am aware that very small industry, these accidents are not being reported, and when it comes to a big thing, when the offsite has to be initiated or when disaster becomes blavy, in that case, everybody rises up to this. So we have to create a culture of various issues related to the managing the disasters, be it the complete preparedness or the how do you respond, and also the awareness to the people around the industry, and so many issues that nothing can be left loose if we want to achieve the zero tolerance here. And we have been making endure on training and creating awareness also. when I was preparing the national disaster management plans for Gujarat after my retirement from NDMA, we visited almost all the areas where we have focuses and concentration of the Akleshwar and other places where there is a focus, complete concentration of the industry. And we found that the population around them, which is not desirable as such, but we find civil population within the very near to the industries which is affected at the time of disaster. And therefore, there is a arrangement. There is also in the off-site plan, also an on-site plan. There is a suggestion and there is an indication, requirement of creating awareness to the people, the society in general, the community in general. And when it comes to preparedness, the hazard created by a chemical used by industry, its effects, and time to time the people have to be told how, if something happens, how do they look after themselves. So every aspect we have to see to come to a zero tolerance here. I think constant deliberations, constant interaction, constant uh, practicing all the safety measures and doing the audits from time to time by the authorities will go a long way in achieving our goal. We have also been conducting NDMA as well as CIDM board a number of uh, mock drills, and mock drills gives a first-hand chance to the on-site and the off-site players to see what are the deficiencies come out of this and how we prepare ourselves for a major disaster. I think with this word, I would request Rubab to take over and request other dignitaries to come give their view. Thank you.
Thank you, General Saab. Thank you for setting the tone, sir. Now, I would now request Shri GVV Sharma, the Member Secretary, National Disaster Management Authority, for his keynote remarks. A brief, quick background of GVV Sharma Saab. He obtained his master's degree in physics, joined Indian Administrative Service in 1986, Member Secretary of the Task Force constituted by Government of India, of Disaster Management Act in 2005, and had the opportunity to work in super cyclone of 1999 in Odisha, coordination tasks related to floods of 2013 in Uttarakhand, Phylin cyclone of 2013, September 2014 floods in J&K, and Hudud cyclone in 2014. Immense experience in the area of disaster management, sir. It's a privilege to have you amongst us to give the keynote remarks. Over to you, Shri GVV Sharma ji. Sir, I think there's a problem with your audio. Yes, if you could just unmute it now. Can you unmute? Can you unmute it? It's muted. I think, sir, the best way would be to sign out and sign back in once more, sir, because the audio, video is clear, but audio is a problem. Or audio clearly, sir. We would really request you to please, if you could sign out and sign back in, that would be, if that's possible, sir. Because the video is absolutely clear, but there's a problem with the audio. We can't receive the audio. So while we have General Saab, if you allow, can we have the next speaker, sir, Mr. Rao from the Prime Minister's office for his special remarks, while we have GVV Sharma ji joining?
Just wait for a couple of minutes for Sharma to join, if
Okay.
he's ready to join. Otherwise, we'll request.
Okay, sir. Okay. I would request the participants and the panelists to please bear with us for a short while. And sincere apologies for this glitch. As I said, it has become a routine these days with everything moving on to the virtual world.
Rubab, give a call separately to Mr. Sharma, please.
Is it okay now? Am I audible?
Absolutely, sir.
Yes,
Absolutely. Loud and clear, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Very briefly, I will not take much time. I would like to mention, firstly, that we do understand that about 1,800 major accident hazard units have been identified, and we understand that a database has been created, and Ministry of Environment has created the database in which all these industries find their place. But what we are equally concerned is about those industrial units which are just below the threshold. The units which are industrial units which are just below the threshold also deal with chemicals, and the hazard is no less. So therefore, for those units also, whatever is the requirement in terms of having a disaster management plan, having a proper preparedness, having involvement of the community, all these things will have to be done even for those units which are at the threshold level. And the second point I would like to submit for your consideration is that the unit level disaster management plan has to be done with a clear identification of what are the hazardous chemicals that the unit is doing. And for each hazardous chemical, what could be the possible antidote, and how that antidote will be available, or in what manner it can be sprinkled or sprayed, or it can be procured, or whatever. So clear identification of each hazardous chemical which is being used by the industry and its antidote. Then the third point I would like to mention, of course, Major General Bindal has also mentioned, and it's very important that the mock exercises have to be done both for the on-site possibility of a disaster and also for the off-site eventuality. And for the off-site eventuality, we must definitely involve the local community and the local district administration. And this has to be part of the disaster management plan of the district. As you know, entire country, every district is required to have a holistic disaster management plan for the district. And in that district plan, the off-site management plan of every industrial unit has to find a mention. Then the fourth point I would like to mention is that whatever assets are possible to be created by pooling of resources in a cluster, if you have a chemical industry cluster in a small zone, it is possible to identify whatever is the common infrastructure which is required to deal with any eventuality, rather than every unit spending the money. It will be commercially also, it will be a wise proposition if the units can come together and spend part of the CSR responsibility by pooling resources together and purchasing equipment. And if that equipment also can be identified and the details can be shared in the India Disaster Resource Network portal of the concerned district, then it will be of great help. So these are the points which I thought I must mention. And especially the use of the corporate social responsibility fund is a very good option that is available, and it will help the industry as a whole. Therefore, I would request all the participants once again to come forward and walk the talk, because all this has been discussed in the previous 7 webinars, and it is now time for concrete action at the ground level. With these words, I thank the organizers for having given me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sharma, for your very insightful address. And I think we've noted down your suggestions and your inputs. And I'm sure, as you said, we need to walk the talk. And whatever we've gathered in these last 7 webinars, we are putting that now as a commitment to you that we'll put it down on paper and we'll make it into an action plan also. And we'll be in touch. We'll continue to be in touch while we implement with your support. Thank you so much. Thank you. Moving forward, now I would request. I would like to welcome Dr. Rituraj Mehta, the corporate head, safety and business excellence from Adani Power. Thank you so much, Mr. Mehta, for joining us. GBV Sharma ji just mentioned about the corporate's role, industry's role, and very opportune time for you to have joined. Thank you so much. Moving on, we will have special remarks from Mr. K. Rajeshwar Rao. Mr. Rao, he's the senior advisor in the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister. He's worked in the corporate sector, state and central governments and regulatory authority, by virtue of which He possesses very rich experience of almost about 34 years in the fields of technical, marketing, and administration. He has been deeply associated with the activities of disaster management and disaster risk reduction for more than a decade now. CIDM board has been immensely benefited with his support and guidance in capacity building activities related to disaster management, disaster risk reduction. Shri Rao is currently, as I said, senior advisor with the Prime Minister's office. Over to you, Mr. Rao, for your special remarks, please.
Lieutenant General Bharadwaj, Major General Bindal, Mr. GVV Sharma, eminent speakers, and all the participants. Very good afternoon to you all. At the outset, it gives me immense pleasure to give my special remarks at this webinar on zero incidents and preventive culture in the industry. I will be very brief, maybe a couple of minutes I will take. Won't take much time because in my view, any industry, I think the goal is.
Bob, we are not hearing, please. Mike.
If you could speak closer to the mic, sir. Yes.
Able to hear now?
Better. Carry on, please carry on.
Yeah. I think any industry would like to achieve safety excellence. And in my view, safety performance cannot be quantified by the number of accidents that occur in any industry. So every industry should strive for zero number of accidents. That doesn't mean that every accident will be prevented, but a zero tolerance culture from top management, as Mr. Bindal, Major General Bindal also mentioned in his opening remarks, that should flow from the top management to the worker or employee at the shop level in the forefront line. Then only these towards the zero tolerance, zero accidents, any industry can strive towards that one. So the commitment of the top management, middle management, and the frontline worker, everybody is important for the health and well-being of the not only the industry but also the society. As General Bharadwaj mentioned, every industry more or less, not only he mentioned about Gujarat, but the country, almost all the industries, they are facing this problem of encroachments near their premises, and the society is affected with these kind of accidents. So a zero incident culture requires continuous improvement in risk management and accident prevention. Management should constantly work to identify unsafe acts, hazards, and unsafe conditions that puts its employees and the infrastructure in danger. Risk identification is only half the battle. What truly sets a zero incident safety culture apart is willingness to implement strategies and practices in order to proactively prevent accidents. As Mr. GVV Sharma mentioned, there is a mandate that every district should have the disaster management plans, and also every industry should have that disaster management plans. As far as district administration is concerned, they are responsible for the offsite disaster management plans, and every industry takes care of the on-site disaster management plans. Just having these disaster management plans will not help unless they are practiced and the strategies are implemented. Then only one can strive towards the zero accidents. I am glad that CIDM board has got eminent speakers from CDC Germany for this webinar. I hope with the presentations from these eminent speakers, the participants will get benefited, and I request participants to spread this message down the line in their respective industry. Then only we can achieve disaster management and disaster risk reduction. I once again compliment both CIDM and NIDM for jointly organizing this webinar. And I wish this webinar to be grand success. And also, thank you once again, Rubab and his team also, for inviting me to give these special remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rao. Thank you so much for your insights and your word of appreciation also for the sort of work we are doing. And we've noted down what comments you made, and we'll definitely follow that path. Thank you so much for your suggestions coming straight from the Prime Minister's office. Moving forward now, it's time for real meat, for real action of this webinar. I would now like to request Mr. Michael Weber, with this brief background of his. We will have his presentation first. A few words on Mr. Michael Weber. He operates as an international management consultant, as CEO at Weber Sites Consulting. With many years of international consulting and training experience, he's developed and management. Mr. Weber has developed and management manifold sustainable industrial area projects, example in Algeria, China, Germany, Indonesia, and several other countries. On behalf of internationally operating development organizations such as GIZ, he managed international strategy projects in the field of sustainability, corporate social responsibility, and energy. Permanent and targeted training, as well as coaching of international managers and experts from all over the world, is his great passion. With great euphoria and empathy, he motivates his participants to illuminate all contents of complex projects and to find creative solutions. More than 30 years of professional experience in leading roles at Bayer Chemicals, pharma groups, he facilitates the way for change processes in the participants' home country, always with a great sensitivity towards national, cultural, and regional peculiarities. On that note, Dr. Michael Weber, thank you so much for joining us today. We are really looking forward to your insights on the subject. Over to you, Mr. Weber.
In introduction, and thank you very much to all the dignity people. First of all, my question, can you hear me? Great, okay, thank you. Okay, so the topic now here about German industrial safety as introduction to the system and stakeholders is only an introduction, but anyway, it's an introduction which is based on the experience we have, and we got a lot of experience in the last, we have to say, 50 years of chemical disasters, which really changed not only the legislation, but also the behavior of industry in Germany. And if we look at the situation today, management of industrial disasters is based on cooperation, and it's based on the cooperation between industry and the authorities, and that is one of the bases we have in our attitudes, that we have this cooperation very intensively. That, for instance, authorities, licensing authorities, they do internships in the chemical industry to learn about the industry. That takes some 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then on the other side, representatives from the chemical industry are working in the ministry to train the authority, the officials, so to get a better mutual understanding and come to common joint solutions. So this then gave them the very good legislation that the roles of industries and the authorities are very well defined, and that everybody understands what his role is and what his function is in the context in particular of disaster management. In particular, the industry, the hazardous industry, has to assume the responsibility. They are the operators of the plant, and and quite often this is the cause of the incident, and they have to do the utmost effort for concerning incident prevention, as well as, if it ever happens, the incident management, and then come back to the normal operation. So how is that possible to do that? First of all, it is a culture. Safety is built on three pillars in the industry, in particular in industry, and I have history with Bayer, and Bayer, as might be known as one of the big players in chemical pharmaceutical industry. So corporate culture is one of the bases, and the basis in particular says that safety and environmental protection are the duty of the executive board. And within Bayer, there's one member of the board who really is responsible for safety and environmental protection. And then the leadership and responsibility is introduced that all these principles and all the guidelines concerning the safety and environmental protection are then top-down introduced into the company, and that all the staff then develop the right mindset concerning the prevention of any incidents. And it also means that the responsibility is delegated. Nobody on the shop floor can say, I'm waiting for advice what I have to do. Everybody is responsible in his personal business and work environment of the safety and the environmental protection as good as it is possible. So this then means that everybody really not only has to take the responsibility, but has to act accordingly. The second pillar is management. So the organization for safety and environmental protection must be visible, must be strong, and must be capable to intervene into the other organization unit in the company to improve the safety, and also in case of an incident to attack the incidents. And this is not only to prevent environmental protection, but to provide environmental consultancy, but also to prevent fire protection. And this means that the organization is not only in the organization scheme, but it's also in the organization of processes that it is mandatory that the firefighting people in the companies or in the industrial parks, they are requested to intervene and also to participate in the planning processes of new production facilities, and that they also have to be heard and they can bring their input successfully into the projects. And the third pillar then is the technical experience. Yeah, it's the experience according to the systematic safety safety checks which are necessary. In particular, when plants are designed, there is a systematic check which happens in 4 phases. Beginning with the preliminary design, which is already checked for safety and risk, which has to be mitigated, and then during the basic engineering, the detail engineering, and the construction of the plant, until the commissioning of the plant. So this is based on the other side on state level and federal regulations. In particular, one regulation is concerned with corporate fire brigades. This regulation stipulates the establishment of a corporate fire brigade in case that a company deals with increased explosives and fire hazards, and says then there must be a fire brigade maintained within the company or within the industrial cluster. And so this stipulates how the industry has to assume the responsibility and bring it into action that the fire brigade exists and that fire can be fighted, or that fire even can be prevented. And and this does not only mean the fire, but also means any incident, any accident, explosion, or even just the release of a cloud. So if we look at the situation in Germany, we have several types of fire brigades. We have on one side, we have cities fire brigades, and on the other side, we have corporate fire brigades. City fire brigades can be professional fire brigades. So these are people, these are firefighters who work full time on their duty. And we have in small cities, we have voluntary fire departments. And the voluntary fire departments, these are workers. They work in companies, could be an SME, could be even an SME without any, could even be a bank. But when there is a fire, when there's an accident, then they are called and they have to come immediately to the fire station, and then they are deployed from there. So this is, of course, not enough for chemical accidents. And so we have to say that the municipal fire brigades, they are professionals, but they are involved mostly in typical city-related fires and not in industrial fires. So if we look at the difference between the municipal fire brigade and the corporate fire brigade, we can see the following differences. For the municipal fire brigade, the city is responsible agency, whereas for the corporate fire brigade, the company is responsible. And on one side, the municipal firefighters are paid by taxes. Corporate firefighters, they get their salary. They are paid by the company. They both work full shift, full time in 12-hour shifts. On one side, they are civil servants, and on the other side, they are employees. The municipal fire brigades, they have non-terminal work posts, whereas, of course, the working contract, the labor contract with corporate firefighters can be terminated. In the municipal fire brigade, the department is part of the city administration, whereas for the corporate fire brigade, the firefighting department is an intrinsic part of company organization, and they are involved and engaged in all the processes in the company. Municipal fire brigades are deployed in the whole city, whereas the corporate fire brigades are only deployed inside the company premises or industrial park premises unless they are called by the municipal fire brigade to provide support to them. Municipal fire brigades do not have, they are trained for general incidents, whereas the corporate fire brigades are trained for company-specific incidents. So each of the existing corporate fire brigades have a different specific training agenda. They are the municipal fire brigade, they have no specific local knowledge. Whenever they are called, they go there and then they get knowledge about the situation on scene when they arrive. Corporate fire brigades have specific local knowledge, and they are trained to keep that in mind, to memorize it, and to know it whenever they are deployed. And the municipal fire brigades do not have any specific experience in hazardous materials, what they are, how to deal with them, what is their risk, whereas the corporate fire brigades, they are required to get specific training in hazardous materials. So this is the first very important difference between these two types of fire brigades. Now, what is the situation we have in Germany? We have about 140 corporate fire brigades. In particular, the chemical industry like BASF in all the sites like Schwarzheide or Ludwigshafen, in the industrial or chemical parks like Currenta and the Chem Park, the former Bayer Chem Park, or in Höchst Industrial Park. But also the big OEM and car manufacturers like BMW, they do have their own fire brigades. Research centers have their fire brigades, universities, and of course the airports. The airports, they have their own fire brigades everywhere in Germany. Now, what does it means to set up a corporate fire brigade? First of all, there's a legal requirement due to the specific hazardous situation in the company. But the companies also can establish voluntarily their own fire brigades just with the advantage that they can provide shorter intervention time for the emergency crews, and they are sooner and on scene than the public fire brigade. And we are always looking for minutes to be saved. So what we know is that the corporate fire brigades in Germany, they arrive everywhere. They arrive on scene, irrespective where in the chemical park or in the companies on their premises. The event happens within 3 to 5 minutes on scene and can then start taking their action. Yeah, in addition, by acting quickly, it's an economic advantage. The company expects to save costs in reducing machine downtime, and in addition, the insurance companies may reduce their fees. So in this context, one should mention, whenever a corporate fire brigade is deployed, when they sit in their cars, in their trucks, start from the fire station, there's at least one person who reads loudly what is the specific content of the disaster management plan for the specific area, for the specific scene. So during the 3 to 5 minutes they drive to the event scene, all the team, they know what they are expecting, what kind of chemicals, what kind of specific risks, what kind of electricity supply situation, like transformers and so on. Everything is read to them, they know it, and they know definitely what to do. Of course, all these emergency response planning had been done before. It is stored, it is saved in the fire station, but the training, the momentary training, and rehearsal, we even can say, is a very important aspect of the deployment of the 4 corporate fire brigades. In addition, the corporate fire brigades, they are trained. They are trained with mock-up drills, and even if, and in particular, if we don't have these mock-ups in the chemical parks, we have training centers. In these training centers of real dimensions, yeah, there are process installations or tank storage areas or large surface fires these scenarios can be looked at. Even a ship is available on the river, or enclosed industrial unit, or a loading and packaging station, pipe trenches, electrical substation, and the interior structure and compartment of fire simulations. That means regularly, the corporate fire brigades are trained to cope with any type of scenario of a fire which might happen. So they know quite well what kind of risk, and in particular, what kind of psychological stress they will undergo when they are deployed and have to attack a fire. So the realistic what we have here in these centers is the industrial fire training as a realistic fire simulation. And one really should look at these centers. It's a and participate in these training. It's a once for the life experience. We have real flames there, real stress situations. Just to get to know what the experts are, and the wide range of scenarios, leaking liquids, cracks or burning of valves, typically piping systems with leaks and leaking flames, complete industrial rigs with different fire points and fire of several floors, even simulated chemicals clouds. Yeah? Imagine a chlorine cloud. Yeah, so this type of cloud can be trained here in these centers, so that the training then on this mock-ups is successful for the firefighters. So, but it's not only firefighting. The fire brigades, the corporate fire brigades, also have the responsibility to prevent hazards. And this was a new demand on the professional qualification of them, which was introduced just about 10, 15 years ago. And on the other side, it's the intensive collaboration between the government and enterprises for management of the emergency incidents, especially in traffic incidents with chemicals. So we have to, we can summarize that in addition to fire extinguishing, the corporate firefighters must be familiar with hazard prevention and management expertise related with the chemical leakage, hazardous emissions, and groundwater contamination. And so all of this they have to learn during their education. But let me first now go back to the collaboration between public institutions and the chemical industry. Traffic accidents happen quite often. In particular, we have to expect that traffic accidents with chemicals, transportation of chemicals, happens. Truck can turn over, or it can be an accident that's just a break of whatever it is. Now, who has the expertise to deal with these types of accidents? And this expertise is with the corporate firefighters. So in case that there is a transportation accident with chemicals anywhere in Germany, or even in Austria and in the neighboring country like in Switzerland, the public fire brigade, so emergency is called, and the public fire brigade immediately calls what we call a TUI's focal point. TUI's is a conglomerate, we can say. It's a cooperation between the big chemical companies, and they provide then the next located fire brigade, corporate fire brigade, which is then deployed and brings in a mobile chemical plant, which for instance can neutralize chemicals or can absorb chemicals, and a decontamination truck. So the public fire brigade, in Germany, they know that they don't have the expertise, but they accept the call and forward it immediately to the chemical industry, and the chemical industry will then manage the incidents here. So in case of an incident in an industrial park, or in the case of an incident in a chemical company, we have to define the collaboration between the institutions and the chemical industry more precisely. For doing so, a mirror organization is created between the chemical park or the company and the municipality. So what is marked here in green, these are the responsible persons. So it's in the municipality, in Germany, it's a mayor. In the company, or the chemical park, it's either the park manager or it is the CEO or the MD of the company. So they are only politically responsible. But on the other side, which is marked below in red and blue, these are the very important operation technical units. They have to fight the fire. So we have in blue, we have one technical unit in the chemical park, and one technical unit in the municipality, and they are stipulated to work as a tactical team. But what is very important, as the knowledge about the incident arising in the chemical park is within the corporate firefighters, it is defined that the head of the tactical unit of the chemical park is the on-scene commander, whereas the operation technical unit from the municipality provides support on demand and on order of the corporate firefighting unit. So then we have this tactical team working together. A lot of SOPs are defined, a lot of trainings, permanent trainings, regular trainings are made. Can even say they sit together, even the lawyer, the mayor and the chemical park manager, they sit together at least once per month. And in addition, we have the staffs. The staff in the company as well as in the municipality, they know what is going on outside the tactical team, what is the propulsion of the clouds, what is the risk arising for the community, what kind of additional activities have to be done just to appease the neighborhood, for instance. Yeah. So in case that we have an impact, that we have an incident with an impact outside of the factory, battery limits, then there are SOPs prescribing the roles and the functions of each participant. We have a chain of reporting. Who has to be informed first and second and third, and the first who is reported has to inform his chain. And even the texts, the wordings are prescribed at the very beginning. We also have texts on the phone. Public will call emergency numbers, so that they get the first information what has happened. The crisis manager is determined his duties. The on-scene commander, his duties are defined, what he has to do. And the information of the general public, which already has been prepared, as around the chemical parks, all the neighbors, they get leaflets. Yeah, they get it almost once per year, and whenever and in this leaflets, it is described what that kind of accidents might happen and what they should do. So they have it. It's at the first information. In addition, chemical parks like the biochemical park, they have their what is called a focal center for the neighborhood. So there are regular meetings between managers of the chemical park and the neighborhood. So the neighbors, they can address their complaints, they can address their sorrows to the management. And what Bayer in addition did, Bayer made a survey concerning the acceptance of the chemical park in the neighborhood, in the close neighborhood, and in addition in the state level neighborhood. So that not only the facts are known, but also the emotions are known. And this then could then be introduced into a typical change process and change project where the long-term changes, that means the better acceptance of the chemical park by the broad public was introduced, was established, and now the indicators are regularly measured how this development, how this change and this acceptance level is improved. Now, of course, we have a center everywhere, a command center for disaster management. This is one here is the BASF disaster center. Yeah, that means that this center has to ensure the proper preparation. They have to develop the fire protection plans. They have regular on-site firefighting drills that can be trainings can be trainings here in the center. As in the command center, the representatives of the authorities, representatives of the impacted companies in the chemical park are invited, and they all sit together there, as well as the experts coming from the firefighting and environmental protection department and others if necessary. So, and these command center organizers, they do also the preparation of the firefighting simulations in case for any emergency management. So this was now the first focus on incident. It was on incident management. And if you look at the big industrial parks, and chemical parks, they have we can say they have a huge organization of firefighters. Like BASF in Ludwigshafen, they have 180 full-time firefighters. Yeah. And they have very modern equipment. So a lot of money has been spent to them. Yeah. Like they have 46 fire engines, special extinguishing agents, ample water supply. They even, for instance, they have a water pump which enables them to extinguish fire, which is at a height of approximately 50 meters. Yeah, yeah. And what they do, they have up 100 alarms, real alarms, but they really have to be deployed annually. And then afterwards, these alarm situations are evaluated. And the second focus they have to obey is on hazard prevention. These are not the same people, but they are in the same organization. These are well-trained specialists. They implement measures and findings of preventive fire protection in regular plant inspections. Yeah, they check they maintain and check the emergency services in the companies. Yeah, they are involved to modernize and upgrade the plant and safety technology. They receive all the signals and alarms in monitoring the chemical processes, and they operate the reliable warning systems either via internet or via cable. Glass fiber usually. And what they do for every plant and facility comprehensive safety assessment, and they provide certificates to the plant operators. Yeah, and on the other side, in industrial parks, the disaster management is an industrial area management. So in case that there is an incident, a well-orchestrated shutdown plan is established. And all the companies have to obey to this and stick to this plan. And of course, underground installations have to be protected, even therefore, the plan is existing. Well, you have the monsoon situation in India. We have, from time to time, our flooding. And for instance, the River Rhine, yeah, the 500-year water level is achieved, we can say, almost every 5 years. So we really have to be prepared for that. So the last item I would like to touch here is just the corporate firefighting training and education. Corporate firefighters education takes 3 years. And in the chemical parks, we have very intensive and very good vocational schools. And the situation we have in the meantime is that the big cities, even the big cities of Cologne and Düsseldorf in Germany, they send their municipal firefighters for education, for the education to the chemical park vocational school. So, and the education is in 4 parts. 2 parts, that is the written and the training and firefighting training, whatever, what all the firefighters have to pass, is in the school and in the company, and they have learning in vocational school and training in the company as well. So technical learning fields in vocational school, just the basics. Then specific technical learning in the companies. They have firefighting learning fields in the vocational schools, but only the more general topics, but they have the firefighting training in the company. And that's an additional training of 18 months, which prepares them for any incident which might happen. So what we have, that is a very comprehensive curricula for training and education of corporate firefighters, which stipulate how many hours have to be introduced for the different topics, what kind of skills have to be acquired, what are the learning objectives, and what are the exam contents to be asked afterwards. So, and this is not only the legal basis of fire service and requirements for professional firefighting, but also the organization structure and process management in the company. So they learn a lot about the situation in the company, and then they are prepared that firefighting also means business continuity. Come back to normal as soon as possible. And this is one of the major objectives the corporate firefighters, and in addition, of course, the crisis management in the chemical parks is oriented to. And this was now my last slide. And thank you very much for your attention. And I'm happy at the later stage then to ask for your questions.
I think Mr. Michael has covered a lot of important areas for prevention, and especially on the firefighting, which is a very important component in the management of disasters. Rubab, you can take over. Next speaker, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Michael Weber. Thank you for your very detailed presentation. One of the key areas you touched upon was cooperation between the industries and authorities, and I think that plays a very critical role. And that is something what we also believe in India. You know, the more we improve upon that, the better would be our preparedness. Thank you. Moving forward, sir, for the benefit of all the audience, we have almost 200 with us. Karl Duisberg Center from Germany is an expert on industrial safety training, sir. Apart from many other courses they organize, they have partnered with us for this particular webinar today. And we have these 2 experts from them being nominated. The second presentation is now from Mr. Helmut Eines. A brief background on Mr. Eines. He's educated at the Technical University of Munich, Germany, and studied mechanical engineering. He began his career at TUV Rhineland as a project leader for an Indonesian-German R&D project. More than 37 years of rich experience, he has worked as a labor inspector in the Germany's so-called dual system and held later several management positions in the accident insurance scheme. Until September 2019, Mr. Ines was the responsible manager for the prevention department of BGRCI with a staff of 600 prevention experts. Very interesting. Under his leadership, many innovative prevention approaches and concepts have been developed and successfully introduced. Vision Zero, OSH Award, the Vision Zero strategy for a prevention culture at workplace, and many SME-related other services also has been captained by him. So with that note, I would now request Mr. Ines to take over and talk us through his presentation. Over to you, Mr. Ines.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, thank you. Before I start to share my screen with you, thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to my home office here in Germany. Of course, I would prefer not to have a virtual meeting, but in these times we have to manage this disaster. It's also a kind of a disaster. I think today I only can give you an impression about the topic and the content I was requested to touch. And let me share to the screen. Yeah, you can see it? Okay. My topic is how to create a prevention culture by Vision Zero. And this is the content. So after I would like to say a few words. Excuse me?
We can't see your screen, I'm sorry.
You can't see. Wait a moment. It should be here, huh? Where can I share? I don't have the signal here, the offer to share. Oh, no. Now it should be possible.
Have you shared the rights with you? Yes, it's coming on, yes.
It's coming on now. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I was addressing the second slide. I want to say some words about Karl Duisberg, what we do with the Karl Duisberg training centers. Some words about the International Social Security Association and the mining section, and then the topic is what is zero, what can you do, and what steps can you take in order to introduce a Vision Zero culture? What are we doing in Germany with Vision Zero? And if we have some time, maybe I can give you an example from Germany. Too quick. Yeah, I think you are aware, and you mentioned it already, Karl Duisberg is offering training, high-level, high-quality training programs on the international basis in Germany and in other countries. And there are a lot of location and training offices in Germany and abroad. Here you have also a web address. I don't know if you are aware what is ISA. ISA is the International Social Security Association. ISA unites all organizations in the world from more than 150 countries and 350 organizations who are active in social security. We have also a close cooperation with India, and so I'm involved in the accidents insurance, social security. This is my professional background, and I continue to work with the ISA as well. And in the field of the prevention of accidents and diseases, we have now 14 international sections. I come from the mining, but I'm also involved in the newest one in the trade sections. You can see the different sections we have. Mining, ISA Mining celebrated last year its 50th anniversary, so we have a long experience about safety and health. How to create a prevention culture by Vision Zero. I will try to tell you the story, how we came to that approach. And I think everybody, every family wants to have a good job, because all of us, anywhere in the world, we want to have a good life. But the work and the jobs has, unfortunately, the other faces. We have diseases, we have accidents, we have fatalities. I could tell you a lot of figures so far that we know what is reported all over the world, but I just want to address that figure, 4%. 4% means that we lose, that there is an estimation that we lose 4% of the global GDP due to bad working conditions. These are the sum of 3,400 billion US dollar. And I had a look about the Indian situation, and if we estimate that 4% could be a right percentage, I guess maybe it's more than 4%. But even if it's only 4%, India losing more than 108 billion US dollar, which could be used for better purposes if we would be better in prevention. So we analyzed that situation some years ago and said, what can we do? And that was the birthday of the Vision Zero strategy, the birthday of that new approach. It is the first global initiative for prevention where all actors are invited to join and to work together. And Vision Zero is not just how to comply with the legislation. We want to move from just compliance to a prevention culture. What is Vision Zero? This is a kind of definition here. It is a prevention strategy which requires a brand new mindset of everybody. We are convinced every accident has causes, and that means that every accident is preventable if we analyze and if we find out the risks at an early stage. And the same is for the diseases. Even the diseases are preventable. And we have a special focus in the Vision Zero on the fatalities and on the serious accidents and diseases and even traffic accidents. The definition, but I can say it very easily and much more simple. We want that everybody returns safe and healthy from his work back home every day. We defined that we have to focus on 3 dimensions. Very often, we just limit what we do on safety. I call it that safety is the classic approach. But looking to the figures we are aware and we get, maybe the health issue is the undervalued factor and is the bigger factor in the whole statistics. And we add a third one. We want to create well-being at workplaces for leaders, for managers, and for the workers as well. And sometimes we have a little discussion, well-being at work, is that what we need? Yeah. But if we say people like their job because there is a positive leadership and a non-blaming culture and a prevention culture, then I think that is what we have to try to achieve. Sometimes we get the question, is Vision Zero just a new management system? We have so many management system approaches available already. My answer is no, it is more. In the Vision Zero, we are focusing on leadership and on business excellence. We regard health and well-being as a value. We think that it is inspiring, it has to be alive, and everybody in the factory, in the company has to be involved, not only a few champions who are the experts in safety. We want to empower the workers to contribute with their ideas. They are not the problem, they are part of the solutions. And incidents we regard as opportunities to learn and not as mistakes or failures. So it's a little, I try to explain you the difference between management system and Vision Zero. We came up with that idea and the response was very positive. And but then the next question was, now tell us what to do. And we had a look on the experience and we asked in a project more than 1,000 experts from all over the world, and the result of the most needed action is the 7 golden rules. Very briefly, these 7 elements. We start with leadership. We need a clear commitment and a clear leadership culture by every leader. Of course, it starts from the top, from the CEO, but even the newly appointed managers should be educated and ask about their attitude regarding safety, health, and well-being. Two is we have to know what we have to deal with. That means we have to identify the risks and hazards. And in our approach, we have 2 perspectives. One is the risk management or risk analysis, which is nearly everywhere in the world in the legislation a duty. But we also have to identify and learn from accidents, near misses, from diseases. So what happened in the past? That are the 2 sources to know what we have to deal with. If we know that, we can set up our programs and our targets. This is number 3. And then we come to the systematic approach. So we need a system which guarantees safety, health, and well-being. So this is the part of the management system, and also the disaster management would be a part in the Vision Zero approach, of course. Then we have a component looking to the technology. Of course, we want to have the safest and most healthy and low emission technology. We know that we cannot replace all the production facilities in short periods. Therefore, we have to upgrade and to maintain all the tools and the machines we. Number 6 is people. We have a strong focus. How can we improve the competence of the people? That means what people come in the workplace, but also further training and further education. I think it's a long journey to upgrade competence, a never-ending journey. And number 7 is people again. So we start with people and we close with people in these 7 elements. We have to involve the people. We call it invest in people. So we try to ask the workers, what idea do you have to improve the safety and the health at your workplace? And we need a non-blaming culture in order to get the information from the workers. So these are the 7 golden rules. And we are convinced if we work on these 7 elements, we are on the road to a prevention culture and hopefully come closer step by step to the Vision Zero. What is the global response? Very briefly, the story started 2017 at the World Congress for Safety and Health in Singapore. We had the global launch with 4,000 enthusiastic participants. Meanwhile, there have been launches in more than 100 countries, so it arrived nearly everywhere in the world, in India as well. The newest numbers is that we have more than 11,700 partners all across the world, and you can find the top names of industry in that list. And if you, ladies and gentlemen, want to be a part of this movement, please go to the visionsero.global website and just register there. What can you do? And this is my recommendation to take your way to the Vision Zero culture. There are 4 things I would like to offer you. So first of all, we have a guide. We produced a guidebook in 14 languages, in 15 languages, and it's available in your language as well. And we ask questions. You see it on the right side. For every golden rule, just 1 page of questions. So I think this is a tool where you can start with. It is to implement the 7 golden rules. It's very easy, clear structure. There is also an application available. And you can use it as a self-assessment tool for employers and managers. You can give it to your middle managers. You can use it as a survey for your employees. And this creates very interesting results because our experience is ask your management teams and compare it with the answers from the employees. You will be surprised what the management teams think they have in place and what the workers really are aware what is in place. So if you have this culture to talk about this, then it can be an excellent starting point to work on the way to Vision Zero. Of course, it can be used by consultants, and we use it as well as interview guides for interviews with managers. So it's a multi-tool. Number 2 is we offer Vision Zero training that has been developed and tested, and it can be made and offered according to the needs of a country, of a company. So maybe we can talk about this. Who should participate? Number 1 is employers and leaders, but managers as well. So I think we must bring nearly all the target groups, all the acting groups on the same level of understanding of safety, health, and well-being. Therefore, this Vision Zero training is maybe a chance for all of these target groups you can read here. And I would like to recommend that to start maybe with an interactive initial workshop where we want to see the CEO, the leaders, and the top management. Then it should be a standard training for designated management positions before they learn and have to deal with the disasters. And another opportunity is to educate a Vision Zero coordinator, which can manage the process on the company basis. So, of course, we can also offer Vision Zero consulting according to specific needs. And the last opportunity I want to inform you is the newest one is our Vision Zero indicators. We are on the way to publish in August the Vision Zero proactive leading indicators in a guide to measure and to manage safety, health, and well-being at work. So why are we coming up with that? Traditionally, we deal with lagging indicators. We count accidents, injuries, if we are good, near misses, and reactive measures. And I think this is the tradition, and we want to keep the tradition, but we want to have a second approach there. These are the leading indicators, where we want to have indicators where we can really manage and guide the introduction and the improvement of the culture. These indicators has been developed in a project by researchers from 4 countries. You can see the pictures and the names. And now we have 14 proactive leading indicators. So we have 2 indicators we offer for every golden rule. I think today I have not the time to go in the details, but just to show you, to give you an impression, we want to see what is done regarding visible leadership at workplaces and what is done on competent leadership. And just to show you the other golden rules, here is golden rule number 3 and number 4. For example, we want to count how is the frequency and how are you doing the pre-work briefings. And of course, you can also count and measure how much are you investing in initial training, in refresher training, and what are you doing for recognition or rewarding. So for every of these indicators, we will publish such a fact sheet, and maybe you cannot read it now, but the content of the fact sheet is that we explain the aims of that indicator. We explain the key concepts. We will give good practice. We talk about limitations, and we will talk how to measure. So in that new guide, you will find further content like recommendations how to use it. We give examples for tailored use for bigger companies, but also for small companies, and how you can present the outcomes. So this is the content, and the global web launch will be in August 27, European time, and maybe we can spread the link to join this global web launch. I think this is a point we can talk after this webinar. What are we doing in Germany with Vision Zero? You heard in the introduction that till last year I was the head of the prevention department for the statutory accidents insurance provider for mining, chemical industry, construction materials, quarries, paper industry, sugar, leather industry. So a mix of high-risk industries. And we insured 35,000 enterprises with 1.4 million insurance in that accident provider. And Vision Zero is the strategy of BGRCI as well. It's completely the same we do in Germany. I could talk in an extra webinar about the activities we are doing there, but I just want to give you the impression that we set up 7 targets for a time frame of 10 years. You can read the targets here. we want to reach, and to improve the accidents and disease situation, so the prevention situation in that industry, we cover with that insurance provider. And we have identified 10 measures, 10 screws where we can move in order to improve the situation. So we start from better analysis of accident statistics, so to learn more from what we have available, till number 10, looking to find out and to find partnerships with multiplicators. So we have a lot of partnerships with employers associations, with the unions, and with big players in the industry. So this is the strategy we follow at BGRCI. And in the whole field, we have a lot of activities, but today I don't have the time to go in the details. One example is our BGRCI Vision Zero Oscar. So we ask all the companies, what is the best idea from the workplace, from the workers, and we award them every year in different categories. And we collected by that activity, meanwhile, more than 6,200 ideas from 4,000 enterprises. So that's just one example. Of course, we are evaluating it. Is it working? And so this is the result of the first year. And I just want to give you an impression that we believe we are on track and we are reducing the numbers and the serious accidents, and as well the diseases, the occupational diseases. So we believe that it's really working. My last example, which I brought for you, is one example which is in line with the first measure. If you remember that I said we want to learn more from what we know. So we want to learn from the fatalities. In that industry, in Germany, we have every year about 20 fatal accidents. So if you just look to 1 year, these are singular accidents. Pooled these accidents over 12 years, so we analyzed more than 300 fatalities, and there is a big report available, what we learned from that analysis, from this re-evaluation. But you see, this is only one chart here. Number vehicles, number 2, machines falling from heights, number 3, falling objects, and explosions is just on the 5th position in that industry mix. But we learned, for example, 90% of the fatalities can be related to 5 major causes. So what to do with that knowledge? We created lifesavers. We call it lifesavers. And excuse me, we have a small brochure, a leaflet. It's My Life, and we want to address the workers, the workforce, the employees with 12 messages. And you see here these 12 simple messages. And one message is routine can be fatal, because we found out that the average age of fatally injured workers was between 45 and 55. We thought that we expected that it would be the youngers, but it was the experienced one. And from all this knowledge, we created these 12 simple messages. And of course, there is a little bit more available. We give examples also what they should do. So it would be easy to say all the accidents are made by the workers, and are related with their wrong and bad behavior. That would be too simple. And we created as well 12 lifesavers where we address the managers, because a lot of the activities could not be done by the workers. They have to be done by the management people. And therefore, we have 12 lifesavers for the managers as well, addressing their role as a role model, and giving them some clear information what they have to look for, because we believe very often the situation when the accident happens is a long situation, and managers are walking by and are not addressing the situation. So this is what we want to improve. So I could give you an impression what we are going along with Vision Zero. I can summarize, it really works globally. There is no conflict with national legislation. I think it's such a big success because it's so simple. And this is one of my messages. Prevention is not complicated. Yeah, it's simple. Just use your brain, and then you will know what you have to do. So we try to make it simple and clear, and it's people. It inspires people. It's emotional. And by this, I want to thank you for listening, and I hope all of you will join the Vision Zero. We can get in closer contact. And again, if you want to get in contact with Karl Duisberg, you can find here Mr. Jörg Kalmbach's email address and also the website. Thank you very much, and I hope you could follow me. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Anis. General Bhardwaj, over to you, sir.
Anana is a very wonderful presentation, and I think it's a good session for teaching for all of us, because we all work toward the zero tolerance about accidents in the chemical industry, and we've got excellent tips. I think lots of managers from the chemical industry need to undergo this kind of training. Thank you, Rubab.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Helmut Anis. That a very interesting explanation on the Vision Zero. We were really looking forward to this. We've been reading about this, and now hearing this from you. The 7 golden rules, where the 7th rule was investing in people. I think that plays a very important role. I'm sure it is not as per priority, and I think the 7th rule is also as important as the first one. The Vision Zero Oscars is a good idea. I think we need to really recognize people who work in the industry towards ensuring that safety is maintained. And I think that recognition at CIDM, and I'm sure General Bhardwaj has also been guiding us on that we need to recognize people who do good work in industrial safety across industries in India. And we would soon, maybe with the collaboration of an international agency, right? Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Anis. Yes.
Yes, can I thank you for these comments, and that are very helpful and important comments. Let me give a comment on your comment. And I get very often, we get the question, why is rule number one, and number two, and number seven, yeah? So it's not a hierarchy. We say all these 7 rules are important, but the first one is the first one because the management has the key in the pocket to improve the situation. If they don't do anything, you will not get an improvement. So number 1 has to be number 1. All the others are on the same level. Yes. And regarding the Oscar, we have a similar discussion with global lime industry to create such a global Oscar. My recommendation would be for India not to count figures because who knows if the figures are true. We are focusing on solutions, on ideas. What is a new invention, a kind of invention? And very often, the very simple inventions are the best inventions, and they come from workers.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Ines. Jan Bhardwaj, with your permission, we have time for questions also. We already have a long list of questions, but Mr. Raghu Babu is here from GIZ, and he was instrumental in getting this session organized. Have him take his Mr. Babu.
Yeah, thank you, Rubab. Thank you for making this event happen today. I'm extremely thankful to both the speakers, Dr. Michael Weber. I know him for many long years when he was still working in Bayer's Chemical Park in Leverkusen in Germany, and also Dr. Helmut Heines. The presentations were extremely good, very pinpointed. And when Mr. Heines says Vision Zero is very simple, I believe him, because I worked in the German organization for 15 years, and I know when you put a wheel after wheel, a spoke after spoke, at the end, it all looks very simple. I think it's about aligning everything in a way that it works perfectly well. I just noted down a couple of points of interest, which I thought I should highlight here. Dr. Michael Weber's presentation, he talked about this cooperation approach between the fire brigades of the municipality or the public agencies and the corporate fire brigades. Now, I think in the last discussions with the NDMA, we were also talking about it. And even today, Mr. Sharma highlighted this, the aspect of private or the infrastructure from the corporate side. I think we should take a note of this model, how it's working with the private sector engagement in Germany, and how they are cooperating with each other. And also he highlighted about the legally binding requirements for the corporates to have such kind of a system. I think that's something that we can look at. And one other thing he highlighted is about the training and skills of the personnel. I think that's very, very important. Even last time we discussed about, can we align our skills in India to the national skills qualification framework and see how we can systematically develop the skills of the personnel dealing with these incidences. Now, from Dr. Ines' presentation, I was taken back a little bit when I heard from him the global figures of the losses that come from incidences. But surprisingly, even the estimates that he has for India are amounting to something like 8 lakh crore rupees per year, which is not small amount. $108.7 billion losses, he said, which is quite significant. I think it's worthwhile for us to look at how to make investments and get over these kind of losses that we are incurring. And he, besides the golden rules that Rubab you highlighted, he also talked about guidebook. And as I see from the samples that he presented in his presentation, I think the guidebook will be like a toolkit or a toolbox that people can use very easily and will help them to identify the hazards and take the measures necessarily. I also took a note of the suggestions he came with Vision Zero indicators, because at the end, everything needs to be quantified. We need to have a benchmark to quantify. I think these indicators will help us to have benchmarks and to quantify within our industries how much of a risk do we have and how much, in which segments do we have those risks, so that you can accordingly prioritize your measures and go with those. And the whole perspective that he shared with us, the solutions, how lifesavers, he called them lifesavers. I think these are very, very crucial. And working in GIZ, a German organization, I know we also have these kind of parameters for the managers, for the leaders, for the people. And these look very simple, but I can tell you these have huge impacts. And I think it's all about being sensible and sensitive to these kind of lifesaver parameters at the worker levels, at the management levels. And thank you very much, both the speakers, for your excellent presentations. And we have quite a good number of questions. I don't take too much more time, but I would only like to thank both the speakers for taking out time and also for all the time that you took out for our pre-discussions to understand the requirements of the Indian participants. Thank you so much for all your efforts and excellent presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Babu. Thank you for an overview on the presentation today. Quickly going on to the question, Jan Bhardwaj, now I'll take questions with your permission, sir.
Yes, please carry on.
Yes, so we have questions from none other than Jayant Roshan himself from NDMA. He asks, what is the key factor in terms of capacity building for achieving zero accident industry or vision zero industry? What is the key factor in terms of capacity building? The question I would encourage Mr. Ines Weber to answer. We have SP Garg also amongst us, former ED and coach. Thank you so much, Dr. for being with us. So these questions are open. Mr. Raghu Babu, you can also take questions, and I would seek advice from General Bhardwaj also while we answer these questions. So I'll repeat the question.
Thank you, Mr. Raghu.
I'll answer the question. What is the key factor in terms of capacity for achieving zero accident in industry?
Should I answer?
Please, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, in fact, it's a organization's culture. You need to look at so many things. You should have a good safety management system in place. Besides the right people, right technology, and the mindset, the right leadership. All this put together, you can achieve a good safety record of the organization.
Maybe I can give one answer from Germany.
Yes, yes, Mr. Ines.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Of course, it's a complex mixture of knowledge. Yeah, but I think we have to make this prevention duty and the role of the management people more emotional than we did perhaps in the past. In Germany, we do a lot of educating safety and health experts. So the whole statutory accidents scheme is investing much in training OSH experts. We are investing much in training of OSH representatives from the workforce level. But we are not doing enough, in my opinion, for leaders and managers. And in BGRCI, we are on the way to change it. We want to have more managers in our training centers and talk and learn with them. I think we must not train them all the details in the chemical substances or in the right safety switch installing. For that, we have the experts, but they have to open their eyes and they have to request and require better prevention, better safety. This is their role, and I think we have to go along with that. And therefore, I made my suggestions in the presentation what I would recommend to India to maybe for a further cooperation.
Yeah, a related question for SMEs and other small units in Germany. What mechanism is being adopted for support for capacity building and during emergencies, especially for SMEs and small industries? Is there a specific mechanism?
Who shall answer?
I can try to answer. Yes. Okay. Of course, all the SMEs they have their safety procedures as well. All the companies with more than 20 workers, they are stipulated to establish what is called a safety officer, you can say. So the safety officer has to. The safety officer has to do a lot of things. One thing is he has to do the training of the workers. Training in it's a general introduction of safety, and it is safety on the workplace. So the safety on the workplace takes into consideration not only the accidents caused by the machinery or by the equipment, but also the specific environment, which could be narrow, which could be hot, which could be noisy, and so on. And this has to be done every year. In addition, even the SMEs, we have to do evacuation training. And we have to do a joint training, or let's say, yes, it's a joint training with the fire brigades. And we do it, let's say, not once per year, but every 2 years. So, and in addition, the safety organization within even SMEs is that in each department there's somebody responsible for the safety.
Monitoring mechanism, training, and awareness.
Mechanism trainings. And awareness. So this is more or less awareness raising, yeah. And the trainings, they are not. The trainings are done during the safety instructions, so that different scenarios at the workplace are discussed. Let's keep it this way.
Okay. And related to training, is there a monitoring mechanism back in Germany of training and awareness amongst general public, people who live in the vicinity of industries? Is there a specific training module for them as well? Any mechanism?
It's not a training. It's only a general information which is provided.
Okay, so it's more like an awareness campaign around the industry.
Yes, like that. Yes.
And it's okay.
Can I would like to add something from the perspective of the insurance provider. It's fully correct what you heard already. But we have to commit that the safety level of the smaller enterprises, of the very small enterprises, is not at the same level like the big companies and the big players. So we have more problems with the small enterprises than with the big problems. More or less, we go to the big players and learn and look how are they find the solution, and we try to bring the solution in a similar way, maybe in an adapted way to the smaller enterprises. My experience is we have in the chemical industry this emergency preparedness competence. We have it in the mining industry. But in many other industries, we don't use this emergency preparedness. And so we tried from BGRCI to bring this, this knowledge and this tools also from that industry to other industries. A very simple example is, let's say you have in a cement plant a silo which is 20 meters high, and then a person is on the roof of the silo, and you have only a ladder on the top of the silo. No, most of the companies don't have a plan how to rescue such a person, yeah? And this has to be trained and you need exercises with the fire brigade how to rescue these people. So we try to transfer the knowledge and the experience from chemical industry, from big players, from mining industry to other industries as well. I would add a recommendation. In my perspective, the chemical plants and players and mining players have a good tool to educate smaller companies. Sometimes that can be more effective if you require for your contractor the same level of health and safety as you require for yourself. So I think we have to bring all the actors together, and then we can upgrade many companies and step by step. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rubab, let the audience have the questions, please.
Yes, sir. There's a question from Mr. Pramod Parekh. who's been attending pretty regularly. Thank you, Mr. Pramod Parekh, for your participation and interest. He asked, electronic smart devices technology, which is sensors, logic solvers, and final elements, are not free from failures, and when used in safety critical applications, how is this addressed in process design? Is there any training imparted in institutes or universities teaching chemical process industry? Mr. Weber or Mr. Ines, you would like to answer this?
Chemical safety is part of the agenda in universities as well as in vocational schools, for instance, concerning chemical engineers or chemical workers. Yes, it's part of it.
And if we have safety functions, electronic parts in safety functions, we require, according to German and European legislation, redundant technology. So it's not a simple way. So if there is a failure with one of the components, there has to be a backup component who detects the failure. And this is part of the requirements with the European CE certification for machines and components.
There's another question from Mr. Parekh from Mr. Ines. How chemical plant design is addressed when high risk is identified beyond HAZOP recommendation?
Can you repeat?
How chemical plant design is addressed when high risk is identified beyond HAZOP recommendation?
Maybe Mr. Weber can ask in a better way, but I just would say, of course, if you want to install a chemical plant, you need a permission and you undergo a permission process. So you have to show all your concept and you must show the risks you have identified. And let me give a link to our golden rule number 2. Risk assessment is a constant job. You will never be finished with identifying all the risks, and you must upgrade it. And now we ask all the companies, do you have the corona pandemic biological risk in your risk assessment? Yeah, we don't want to have it extra. We want to include it in the company's prevention activities.
Perhaps I just might ask add that the design is based on the level of the level of protection analysis. So this is based on all the risk analysis before that. So the planners are obliged to introduce the safety measures based on the risk assessment before, and this has to be approved by the authorities. So the HAZOP is only the HAZOP analysis is only the first step of risk assessment, and the safety design of the technical safety of intrinsic safety and of the safety equipment has to be designed based on this risk assessment.
Thank you. Mr. Raghunath, you want to come in?
Yeah, I want to just add one more point. In the chemical parks in Germany, they have one other approach. To minimize the risks at the company level, for example, the boilers are common to the park, the storage tanks are common to the park, piping racks are installed. So they have tried to take out the risks from the plot level. They have taken it to the common area where it can be better managed.
I think that's a very interesting concept, and I think you've been advocating that with the Indian authorities and various ministries also, that having common the pool in clusters is very important, so that to minimize the risk at the site, and it could be the risk could be shared. There's a question from Mr. Munaya. He asks, what are the key performance indicators to achieve zero tolerance culture? Very interesting question. Key performance indicators. I think they were mentioned in Mr. Ainer's presentation also, but he would just still like to know the key performance indicators for zero tolerance culture.
In that project where we developed these leading indicators for Vision Zero, we made an analysis before a study where we found out what indicators are used already anywhere in the world. And we found maybe about more than 100 indicators which are used in the similar way or a little bit different way. And then we made an evaluation, and I would say that these 14 indicators we suggest now, we just suggesting, we offer it to the industry. In our eyes, these are the most useful and handleable and indicators we found, which can also be measured in a certain way and counted. Yeah, and we had a special look that it's not only for the big players, but that it can also be used for middle enterprises and for smaller enterprises. Not every enterprise must use all the 14 indicators. So there are concepts to start maybe with 2 or 3 indicators, but it depends on where you are, where your starting point is, and what kind of industry, what kind of company you are. Come to the global web launch of the indicators, and then you can ask also the researchers. They will be there.
A linked question by VM Mali. What challenges did you experience while implementation of Vision Zero? Any resistance, any challenge?
Of course. It's not, unfortunately, it's not a switch. I asked the pharmaceutical industry in Germany to develop a drug, a medicine. We just give to the workers the Vision Zero drug, but unfortunately they didn't made it. So it's you have to work, and I think we have to go step by step, and we need these companies who go ahead and who transfer this thinking to the smaller ones, to their contractors. And if we have organizations like your organizations or players who are promoting it, so step by step, I think we can make it to the new normal in safety and health.
Just one following question to Mr. Ines on that. We have here one question coming from, I think it's gone away. There was a request if these materials and handbooks can be made available. So Ines, can those handbooks and your indicator documents be made available to the industries in India? Rubab is right now working on a safety norm to be distributed, a small one. Will it be okay for you if the links are provided in that safety list that people can access your documents?
Yes. Documents are all free available. If you go on the website visionsero.global, you can download the Vision Zero guide in Hindi language. And of course, the new guide for the proactive indicators, it's written in English so far. And we are looking for partners who made the language translation to other languages. And then we want to spread it and to share it. So they are accessible, and yeah, maybe we can talk about the translation with the organizations involved here.
Yeah, thank you for that. It was Mr. Chinnadurai who asked this question. And there was also another question about if any Indian company has adopted Vision Zero.
Yes. From Mr. Kamal.
Yeah, Mr. Kamal, yeah.
If you go on the website, you will find all the the committed enterprises of who are part of this 11,000 family, Vision Zero family. And there are a lot of Indian companies already. We have, I know one member of ISA Mining, this is Indian Oil, who is a part of that movement and who is going along with us. But I cannot answer how far the process in every case is. Yeah, so I think it's a never-ending way. You have to go step by step and so on. But India is on board already.
There's also one question which was pointing towards pandemic. In Germany, have you done anything different? And are you planning to do something different in the new normal due to COVID?
Yeah, I'm as you heard, I'm no longer responsible for that, what we do in Germany, because I retired last year. I'm observing what we are doing there. And there is a lot of papers are produced, and there is also a standard new produced from the Labor Ministry together with the accidents insurance and the 16 lenders in Germany. Sometimes I think to have a virus anywhere in the world is not new one. So we can use the tools and the approaches we have before. But of course, the focus now is more on protection, on separating people from very close contacts and wearing masks, for example. So we get some new measures, but the concept how we deal with that is not new.
Yeah, that was it, Rubab, from my side. But maybe you could also answer this question from Mr. Narayana Reddy, who is asking if the presentations will be shared.
Yes, we will be sharing the presentation. In fact, that is a comment I wanted to make. All the participants will be, there are this video, this webinar is been telecasted live on YouTube as well, and this would stay there so people can refer to, what the expert speakers have commented, and their remarks would be there available on YouTube channel, FICCI's YouTube channel. One very interesting question which has come up: what are the regulations in Germany to avoid buildup of population around hazardous chemical industries? Something what we've been facing in our country. It's a very relevant question. Any regulations in Germany? How strictly you follow them to ensure that population does not, the habitat around the chemical industries? Your comments, please.
The planning procedure what we have in Germany, that we have a kind of zoning. It's very strict zoning, and chemical plants can only be constructed in zones which are designated as industrial areas. And in industrial areas, the housing is prohibited. Around the industrial areas, we usually have kind of light manufacturing areas. And in these light manufacturing areas, as well as they protect like a barrier, yeah, their housing is prohibited as well. And from there on, we have mixed, or we have kind of mixed zoning, and then there can be residential areas. So the housing, whenever somebody wants to construct a house in an industrial area, it will be demolished by the authorities.
Yeah, maybe just to add a point there, in Germany, the land use plans are legally binding. So if it is not in the plan, you can't do anything about it. And these are all planned in a very systematic way through technical processes and participatory processes. Everything is pre-planned. So nothing can come as it comes in our case, because we do not have such legally binding plans in many of the places outside the cities. But in Germany, this cannot happen because they have the plans which are legally binding.
Thank you. I think it's time now. If there's any final comment, I request Mr. Rituraj Mehta, who's part of Adani Group, a corporate member of FICCI, for the thanks from the industry side to the German experts. Sir, would you like Jal Bharat any final comment before we have concluding remarks?
I guess, thank you very much, Mr. Rubab. And am I audible?
Yes, Mr. Raji, give me one moment. I would just like to give a short introduction of yours. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Rituraj Mehta, who's the Corporate Head of Safety and Business Excellence at Adani Group, Adani Power Limited, Transmission, Adani Road, Rail, Metro, Water Business. Thank you so much for being with us, sir, today. I would request you to kindly make the vote of thanks to the panel and to the audience, please. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Mehta.
Thank you, Mr. Rubab. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Loud and clear.
So thank you again, and a very good evening to all. So all things said and done. So subsequent to the last webinar, which was 7th one on industrial safety, it's a pleasant experience to hear from eminent speakers at the 8th one. The subject was on zero incidents and preventive culture in the industry. So FICCI's collaboration with Karl Duisberg Center in Germany for this webinar has further added to our efforts in working together for ensuring safety. On behalf of CIDM Board of FICCI and Adani Group, I am thankful to National Disaster Management Authority NDMA, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade DPIIT, National Institute of Disaster Management NIDM, Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister EACPM, Asian Disaster Preparedness Center ADPC Bangkok, Gujarat Institute of Disaster Management GIDM for their support in this series of webinars being conducted. Actually, zero tolerance culture towards unsafe behavior conveys a commitment to the health and well-being of the organizational employee and communities at large. So leaders need to constantly work towards identifying and minimizing or eliminating hazards. I'm thankful to key speaker from CDC Germany, Mr. Michael Weber, Senior Consultant, Chemical Parts, CDC Germany, Mr. Helmut Eines, ISSA Mining Secretary General, ISSA Trade Technical Secretary, Vision Zero Steering Committee of ISSA Chairman, Vision Zero of Council of Trainings and Consulting. They enlightened us with their expertise in the webinar. Their detailed presentations on the subject highlighted the approach and other critical issues that required special focus for accomplishment of zero incidence vision. A lot of key takeaways were there, which I could also note, and I'd like to see that how I can replicate those things in my organization. I'm also thankful to Lieutenant General Dr. J.R. Bharadwaj, Chairman CIDM and former member National Disaster Management Authority for his opening remarks. I'm also thankful to Shri GVV Sharma, Member Secretary NDMA, and Mr. K.R. Rao, Senior Advisor EACPM, for their keynote remarks and opening remarks respectively. Major General M.K. Bindal, Executive Director, National Institute of Disaster Management, Government of India. I must congratulate to the CIDM team, all other experts and participants of FICCI for putting their best efforts in this direction. And I also thanks to all participants in today's session for their active learning. And thanks once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Raj Mehta, for your very encouraging vote of thanks and thanking everyone, duly thanking everyone for their tremendous bent of learning. I think as Mr. Rituraj Mehta said, we are really thankful to the experts who've come from Germany. Special thanks to Mr. Raghu Babu from GIZ for making this happen and helping us put this together, like all other webinars earlier. So thank you so much. Before we wind up, we also have, if I can hear, if Dr. Muzaffar Ahmed can hear me, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us, sir.
Rubab, I would like to, we had excellent presentations. What I would, like you to what I would request you if we can have collaboration with these two speakers, the CIDM board under the leadership of General Bhardwaj, so that in collaboration with NDMA, we produce the guidance for our industries in India.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. In fact, we've been seeking advice and support and guidance of Mr. Raghu Babu on this, sir. And as we have shared with you, and I can assure all the participants today that we will be a safer industrial environment in times to come on a very collaborative PPP model, what we are trying to develop with the Government of India and CIDM. Thank you so much. On that note, I would say bye-bye. Good evening to Michael Weber and Mr. Ines. Have a great day ahead. And good night to everyone back in India. Thank you so much for being with us. Soon coming up with the 9th webinar on as part of our series on industrial safety. And we'll make a formal announcement on that very soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Mr. Rao,
Bye-bye.
Rao, thank you so much for your support. Thank you, Mr. Mehta. Thank you, Akhil, Mainak, Sanjeev. Could not be here today for some personal reason. Varun, thank you so much, all of you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Was a pleasure.
Pleasure.